Hey, everybody, it's Ralph Davis from Ralph Davis Reptiles. You're listening to Jason Rossi of Her Per Parade. Ralph Davis, out.
It says here we should work in teams. I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack.
You're about to enter Information Overload, a worldwide transmission with Her Per Parade's featured Breeder of the Week. Here's your host, Jason Rossi.
I'd like to welcome you back to Her Per Parade, a weekly worldwide transmission. I'm your host, Jason Rossi. We are simulcasting on RossiReptiles.com, Buzzsprout, and don't forget to subscribe and download us on iTunes. You may have heard about our next guest on our Justin Sloan episode in the H3 archives. He has produced a few first-ever combos, and we're going to get everyone an update. This week's special guest is Sean Bradley from ExoticByNature.com. Sean, welcome to Her Per Parade.
Hey, man. Thanks, Jason.
So how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. Hanging in there. Just, a lot of people know after my injury in July that, we've been getting back to work and trying to get a handle on things. I've never come into my collection after an entire season or almost an entire season of eggs have hatched without any sort of inventory control or anything other than everything being labeled properly and waiting for me to take photos of it and put it on the website and stuff. So it's been a serious job since coming home from the hospital and getting back to it, taking on extra help to clean cages and be sure the animals are taken good care of, and then me just concentrating on trying to take photos and get things on the web.
So how are you adapting to life now?
It's different. Everything is, just a few inches out of your reach, and it's a little frustrating from time to time, I wouldn't lie. You have to keep on going. I guess you have to just keep, thinking about the future and moving forward, and, you just deal with what you got to deal with. It's something that you have to learn, and you have to know it. And unfortunately, I think there are people in my position that don't grasp it maybe as well as I did, and people that are waiting for miracles and things like that. And sure, I'm waiting for a miracle, But at the same time, you have to accept things in order to push forward. So.
Well, we're pulling for you, and you have a strong team around you, the EBN team, right?
Yeah. My wife Rachel, and she does she's about 7 months pregnant now, so she's not working with the animals quite as much as she was, but she does the iguana project. We have quite a nice group of albino and axanthic blue green iguanas that we're working with, trying to get up to breeder size so we can produce some of our own little crazy colored iguanas. I'm really looking forward to that project just because it's something different. And then Kristen Davis, who's been with us for years. A lot of people know her from, going to shows with us and things, and she's been with us for a little over 3 years, and she's been a huge help. Tim Bailey from Bailey & Bailey Reptiles, he's my best friend, and he lives maybe 3 miles away. He's been a huge help, even though he's not, officially part of the Exotics by Nature team. He's definitely part of our family here, and he's done just tons for me, and while I was in the hospital. So everybody else is just chipping in too. We've had so many donations from people. The Reptile Nation has been there for me, like I can't even tell you. Big thanks to Jay Eaton and Limey for that performance at the Myrtle Beach show this August. they were able to raise, like I think over $20,000 for us, which was amazing. Brian Potter and them at the NARBC shows. Todd from Timberline Crickets has put up quite a bit of auction donations from what I understand. Repticon show did a raffle and benefit for me. It's really just been amazing how many people have really just kind of reached out for us and made us feel like we really, we're a part of a big family.
Well, we're pulling for you, Sean.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, and like Jay Eaton said, he runs the Myrtle Beach show. He's like, dude, the only everybody kept asking me, why are you doing such a big thing? He's like, the only thing I can tell you is I wish that somebody would do the same thing for me, if something happened to you, and that's the thing is it's like, it's so unfortunate and it's so sad, but at the same time, I have a lot of things to be thankful for, going through rehab, physical rehab especially, you meet people, you meet people that have been, injured for many years. You meet people that have been injured very freshly like yourself, and it's an eye-opener. It really is. So, I thank everybody that's listening to this, that's chipped in, that's helped out, that's donated something, that's, hell, even, liked something on Facebook that was donated or said or something like that. Everybody has just been amazing. So thank you.
All right, so why don't you tell us about your buzzball python there, the pastel puzzle spider. Congrats.
Oh yeah, that was a good find. When we hit that, it was actually kind of a long shot. The puzzle thing is recessive. I'm really gotta call it that because like I see markers in some hets. I don't see the markers quite as obvious in babies as I do when they're actually grown because it's really like a color sort of marker. It's not like you flip their belly over and it's these dotted patterns or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's nothing that's simple. So the buzz was a shocker in the egg. I knew what it was. Tim Bailey was over at the house when I cut the eggs last year, and we both kind of looked at it funny, and he's like, what the hell is that? And I said, that's it. I knew that was it. And then shortly after that, I hit the very first puzzle, which Tim ended up buying. And then I just recently, I think yesterday, posted on my Facebook page a picture of the new puzzles, a couple of the new puzzle things just hatched out. And I got another regular puzzle male, so I'm super excited. Because that's only the second time, and both were males, but that was only the second time that I produced the homozygous puzzle without any other gene in it, So, you asked about the buzz. That was a bumblebee possible het puzzle female from the original project when it was, first, but really she was actually made around the time that the first ones were proven out, so the purpose for making that bumblebee possible het was just to make a bumblebee by breeding a pastel to a spider. That was really it. And it just so happened that she turned out to be a het, and, so as the story goes, I hatched out the buzz. But there's only been the puzzle, the pastel puzzle, the super pastel puzzle, and the pastel spider puzzle, the buzz. So there's only been 4 mutations, including the original homozygous single gene, that have been produced from this project. This project is like wide open, and everybody who's involved, the Sloans, Ben Rennick, Marshall Van Thorpe, Bailey Reptiles, a couple of people that bought some at the auction, John, Albinos Unlimited, and Brian Potter. There's only a handful of people, like I could literally name probably less than 15 people on planet Earth that have the project, so it's new and fresh.
It's good to know that you have those numbers down.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot, man. I have 1 visual male breeder. That's it. That's all I kept. I got rid of everything else to people that I wanted to move the project. I a different sort of project. The recessive thing, I mean, there's so many projects now to breed things to, and everybody has their own gig. You know, again, the Sloans have their own gig, Rennick has his own gig. Everybody has their own sort of look to what kind of snakes they're producing. You know what I mean? And then if you run across somebody that has a smaller collection that liked to buy from one guy, you could almost tell which one guy he liked to buy from, you know, because those looks, at least to me, everybody seems to be unique. So I thought that everybody could take that puzzle gene and basically put their own little stamp on it without me having to do it all, without me having to, you having to worry, man, is Sean going to beat me to the lesser puzzle? Is she going to beat me to the spot nose puzzle? Is he going to beat, you know what I mean? I mean, why would I really worry about that? I mean, for me, marketing-wise, it seems like the stuff we have fun with is the stuff we make money with. So why not just, let the project out, Let people do something with it.
Yeah, I like how even just the puzzle just breaks up the pattern the way it does.
The thing really to notice on the puzzle stuff, too, is the head. It's all in the head. If you look at the picture of the normal puzzles, you look at the picture of the pastels, the super pastels, all of the different puzzle stuff, but especially the normals, you'll notice that the eye stripe continues all the way back. It's a little wider, kind of like it is in the desert stuff. It continues all the way back, and it usually hits the neck pattern. Sometimes it breaks before, but it's different looking. The head is weird looking. The eye stripe is wide yellow. It's very unusual. And that was one of the things that I told people, somebody compared on Facebook thread to those puzzle backs that someone released after I put out the puzzle project for tens of thousands of dollars or whatever. There was this puzzle back project that popped up, and it's very similar in some ways. But if you look at the head, it's nothing similar. It doesn't have the boxy head pattern down the middle. It doesn't, like the head on the puzzle gene itself is very strong and very dominant, and it's like the head on a spider or the head on a clown. It's something that is part of the gene, It's different. And it's different in the super pastels and the pastels big time. And you're going to see as you go into stuff like lesser platinums and things like that, you're going to start to see a lot more of those, So I hope this year we can do some more stuff. I have a pastel yellow belly banana male that I want to breed to some of the puzzle girl stuff to make some, really cool banana, yellow belly, pastel, whatever hets. I think that'll be fun. I'd like to see the Orange Dream in it. Ozzy got a female pastel puzzle from us last year. Probably the nicest pastel puzzle female that I had ever produced. So hopefully either he or myself, I have some of his amazing Orange Dream stuff. One of us will do that,
Both great combos, and I'm sure they're going to line up nicely, just enhance each other.
Yeah, and they're going to take forever because it's recessive, and it's going to make you want to work for it, and it's going to make you cherish when you get those animals out because they're absolutely insane. This super pastel puzzle that I just hatched yesterday, I asked one of my employees to, get all the puzzles in a box together for me so I could do some nice photographs and stuff. And it was Kristen, and she texted me back on the phone, and she said, these things are making me dizzy, man, because they're squirming around in the tub, and their patterns are so crazy and intricate. It really is like a bunch of zippers moving around, that's what it looks like. The pattern on these things are insane. So to think that you can't do amazing things with this, I'm just excited to see what it does with piebald. I haven't even made double hets for that yet. I made double hets for albino, caramel albino, and axanthic, I think. No, I'm sorry. Oh, was it axanthic? I'm sorry, I don't remember now. Albino, caramel, albino, and one other one. We did, to the puzzle stuff just to be able to just have some sort of double het stuff to work with, because I can't wait to see the albino puzzle and albino pastels and super pastel puzzles. Those things are going to be retarded. They're going to be really sick looking.
Throw some hypo in there. Get yourself
yeah.
Great combo.
Oh, that's the other combo I did. I'm sorry. Hypo, that's what I did. I didn't do Axanthic. I did hypo. I did albino. I did high contrast standard albino, which we have some knockout albino stuff, so that's going to be really nice. And, of course, I bred a pastel puzzle into these females, so I produced pastel hets and regular hets. So I got double hets and pastel double hets, so we're going to be producing from both sides of that. But we did albino, we did caramel albino. I have a female caramel albino that lays 8 good eggs every year. She doesn't lay slugs. None of them are bad. The babies are kind of small. The eggs aren't quite normal size, but she does lay a full clutch of healthy eggs. It's the only female caramel I have that lays full clutches of healthy eggs. Got her to lay some because the puzzle project's so strong. I figured why not throw it in there. It's strong like genetic stripe. So why not throw it into the caramel since, I had this female that laid good eggs, and that's got to be a sign. So, and then I did do a hypo. So I had pastel and normal, double het hypo puzzles. So I think we're going to see some cool stuff from that. But, I haven't made lesser hets. I haven't made clowns, and I haven't made, like I said, orange dreams and all this other stuff. One thing I did make is I did make some pastel desert het puzzles last year, and a lot of people are down on the desert thing. That desert is still the number one cleaning up, color changing, just glorifying making, ball python morph that I ever known. You breed anything to that thing and it just shines out in it. So I'm torn, am I actually going to try to use an entire female's year production on the desert project, so that I can show the world the desert puzzles, because I will hit it, I got a big male pastel desert het puzzle. That would be cool, though. I think it would be awesome. I just don't, the applause to die down and then there to be no interest in the project at all. I would really be sad.
Well, I guess people are turned off by females not laying eggs. Have you had any luck?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I don't claim to. I don't even have a female that's raised up. The only females I have were from last year. And again, I did believe that the animals were fairly inferior from what I had seen of females and their growth rates and stuff like that, their development. So I really didn't ever doubt that's part of it so much. But I did kind of doubt, whether or not you could breed stuff into it and make it stronger. Again, as I said, the 2 strongest projects I've ever had have been puzzle and genetic stripe. Genetic stripe being the strongest because, where I got in a decade from just starting with a pair of hets was absolutely, phenomenal. You couldn't imagine how far I got with the investment that I bought from Ralph Davis in 2002, maybe. Spent a lot of money buying a pair of 100% het genetic stripes, and forking over, I don't even remember, $10,000, $12,000, $13,000, something in that neighborhood for a pair of hets, and struggling to get there. So, the thinking about, God, how far genetic stripes got. But puzzles are so big, and they're so meaty, and they're amazing feeders. Everybody that has a part of the project is always going to tell you that, man, his shit eats like crazy. It is so phenomenal. It grows fast. It breeds young. Females at 2 years lay 10 eggs, and, it's crazy stuff like that, I think that project, if you bred it into something like a desert, that possibly maybe it should help the females out. That I could breed the genetic stripe or the puzzle into desert and make really strong, really big, healthy babies, and maybe they might just do something. Females might do something. But I don't have any luck yet. And I don't really see a whole lot of luck on the horizon because they seem to be growing, a little sluggishly, slower than the rest, and, all that type of stuff. But that doesn't change the fact that desert gene just shines. and, you know, everybody's turned off by how the females don't breed and stuff like that. But, you know, since when did there have to be a market for something that had to be bred? You know, why couldn't there just be something? You know, for pet keepers, for people, for curio animals. You know, hell, I mean, just for me just to hatch the things out and just to see them crawl out of the eggs is amazing. I think about that, you know, like, man, why would I want to stop hatching these desert morphs? Because they look so amazing. Somebody sent me a picture of a desert red axanthic, and it looked like a carpet python. I mean, it looked ridiculous. It was banded, and it was blushing, and it was insane. And I was just like, Jesus, I mean, how do you deny desert when you see something like that? Oh, the females don't lay eggs. So what? All of a sudden your profit margin shrinks, so your interest's not there? You know, that kind of sucks. But
no doubt it is an impressive gene.
It's awesome, man. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Just the simple things like the desert genetic stripe that I hatched this year, that Pro Exotics hatched a bunch of before their, you know, unfortunate fire. You know, they had a whole slew of them, and they were amazing looking. I mean, I hatched these desert pewters. We had deserts. A friend of mine told me yesterday that he hatched out some desert pewter, Mojave, something else's. I don't even know what else, yellow bellies maybe, something like that. And he said how insane they were, you know, and I was just like, and he's like, God, I can't sell them at all. And I was like, shit, man, that really sucks. You know, it really does. But,
you can watch them grow.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm still having fun with it. I don't care. I'm not putting my deserts to rest. I'm not. I just don't know if I can burn up my puzzle project this year. But it's sitting there waiting for me, right? I mean, you know, it's sitting right there. I looked at him today. This nice, big, beautiful pastel desert that's het for puzzle. It's got this crazy pattern. And, like, you can almost see the puzzle genes showing through them already, you know. So, yeah.
Well, you talked about your genetic stripe. Congrats on that calico G stripe.
Yeah, that whole package was fun. We hit the calico stripe, we hit the pastel calico stripe, and we hit the cinnamon calico stripe. And all like within the same, you know, couple of weeks of each other. That was a cool little fun thing, you know, and that's, again, that's that genetic stripe project that I got from Ralph way back in the day that had really just kicked ass. I mean, it really did.
How long have you been working on that calico? Because I thought about it, and I was like, that's not what I thought that animal would look like.
Well, okay, my genetic stripe stuff's very broken striped. You know, there's the other gene of, I mean, I say another gene of stripe. It's compatible, you know, with ours, just all the same. But most of the stuff you saw from, like, Mark Bell, or, like, with some of the stuff you see with, like, the lesser platinum stripe stuff that I produce and things like that, that stuff's perfectly striped. It's always just gorgeous, perfect stripes, clean down the middle of the back, clean down the sides, you know, and all this stuff. Well, you know, when I got into stripes, I didn't know. I don't know that anybody really knew just how, you know, specific to each bloodline the stripes were going to be, how clean they were going to be. And I just so happened to end up with the most broken, pretty much, bloodline that you could possibly get, which was, you know, descendant from Bob's male. You know, Tracy had some stuff that she brought in. Ralph got some stuff from Tracy, and blah, 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 was, you know, whatever the backstory was. But I ended up with these genetic stripes that were, you know, fairly broken patterns. So what I decided to do, because I was a corn snake breeder, you know, pretty much professionally at the time, you know, we had cornsnakemorphs.com, and it was a fairly big deal. I decided, what the hell, I might as well roll with the punches. If it's going to give me, you know, these busted up patterns, I'm just going to work with these busted up patterns. And I'm just going to see how busted up I can make the pattern. So I would save back these stripes that were totally not striped, you know. Somebody actually gave me the name Cryptic Stripe at some point. You know, you can even look up probably Cryptic Genetic Stripe and see, you know, some old photos and articles and stuff that we had written, you know, about these just really busted up genetic stripes. Then I discovered when I made pastels with them, they didn't have complete stripes. They weren't just a boring pastel-colored snake with a stripe, or a hypo-colored snake, or a lesser-colored snake with a stripe. They were actually they didn't have stripes. They were patternless, or where their stripes used to be, there were these weird whitish blue scales that would, shine differently than the rest. Or, I noticed that the reduced pattern, or the really busted up pattern of the stripes that I was working with, was actually making the combinations a little cooler looking. And then you end up with that calico stripe that you saw, which is totally just this, completely bastardized pattern of stripe. Not anything like you would expect, because it's not anything that you would expect. If you expected to see an animal that was calico striped from Mark Bell's project or something like that, you would see a completely different looking snake. I didn't know that snake would look like that. I was kind of disappointed in the way it looked, because the pastel calico came first and it was so clean. And then I hatched the cinnamon calico shortly after the regular calico stripe, and the cinnamon calico was all patternless and stuff with weird colors and everything. I saved all of that stuff.
Hold back for sure. So how's your season going?
Oh, it's going well. We were talking earlier. I guess I think we're probably around 60 to 65 clutches. It's a very small year. Maybe 150 to 160 clutches last year, with the potential to possibly be more with the winter being, poor. We didn't have as good of a season, but we're having a lot of really nice babies. Our normal ratios are way down. We're having lots and lots of, good stuff hatch out of, if we had 7 eggs and we're shooting for something half and half, we were getting 5 and 6 of the gene, really doing good with odds, hit a couple really cool things. I don't know. I put up a picture today on Facebook that I thought maybe we might have hit the Bumblebee Mojave genetic stripe. I don't really know. It's one of those things where you kind of get to a point where your deductive reasoning is the only way you can name a snake. It's got this and this and, and this in it, and I see this and that, and you got to collaborate, call your buddy on the phone, say, hey, what is this? What do you think this is? But no, we've had a really good season. We did good with the Coral Glow project, our little male that we got that performed really well. I hit a few things. I really missed on the whole desert stripe thing. I only hatched one desert genetic stripe, and I had 6 different clutches full of possibilities where I could have hit a pewter genetic stripe desert, or something like that, and I just completely missed everything. But we hit the lesser platinum puma. That was really cool. The puzzle stuff that I just hatched out just a couple of days ago. That's always great to see. That project's continuing to give me a small amount of really nice animals every year.
It's got to be nice seeing all the hard work you put into, getting results out of it back.
Yeah, man. Really. That's what's got to keep you going. If it weren't for hatching new things, every year, obviously the ball python thing. When I say hatching new things, I mean new colorations, new mutation mixes, things like that. But hatching new stuff, breeding. I'm going to breed this for the first time. We hatched diamond pythons. We hatched Walmas and Angolans and some carpet pythons and things like that. I don't really do any colubrids anymore right now, but I'm really kind of itching to get back into something, just for fun. So, it feels really good to see it pay off, especially when you have a couple clients lined up that are ready to get something, they get ready to buy, something nice, something unique, and that they can only get it from you. That they've been waiting for it, and that your production is there and it's appreciated. More so in a sense of just someone buying it, but someone actually owning it and enjoying it. Not just throwing it in a rack and say la vie. but it being like on the front page of their website and their favorite animal that they own or something. That's always awesome.
Well, you got quite a few BOA projects as well.
I laid off of the BOA thing, so I would say no. We just basically are steadily downsizing all of the BOAs down to, I have a few really nice true red tails, a couple of Peruvians from our old collections, because that was something that we had that was that we were fairly known for in the 90s and stuff, was producing these really nice Peruvian red tail boas. And then we have some Guyanas and Surinames that I've saved just because they're a little close to my heart. Suriname was the very first, Suriname red tail boa was the very first snake that I ever owned as a reptile keeper. So that's always been kind of an oldie but a goodie. We saved some albinos just because, I have some clients that, really need a plethora of albinos and snows and sun glows and stuff. But otherwise, I don't think we're going to really work with boas too much anymore. I can't work with them, in the wheelchair, especially the size of them. With my level of paralysis, it's really difficult to handle something that's that massive. And honestly, I don't really like owning anything that I can't really get down on, if you know what I mean. As far as, handle it and able to clean its cage and service it and provide it with what its needs, are safely. And I just don't feel that that's really a safe thing anymore. For me or the animal, really, for that matter.
So did you guys keep hog noses, or what did you do with those?
We did keep the hog nose. My cousin Mark that works with us, he pretty much does the hog nose thing. I don't really do too much with it. I realize the Western hogs are a fairly fast-paced marketplace. We have anaconda hogs and double-head snows and albinos and stuff like that. I mean, we just, I think it was one of those projects where we really needed to give it a little bit more steam. So it's there and it's producing for us, and it's just smaller amounts, It's a snake that I enjoy. I do like it. I don't like having a species that has, multi-state regulations, really. Especially not a species that has mutations that has regulations. I think that's really, pushing it. So, I think it's cool. I think they're awesome. Don't get me wrong. Every year, Chad Fuchs is a real close friend of mine. A few other friends of mine have really nice hognose collections that are fairly fast-paced, and they always make me jealous and make me think, why aren't we doing more of these? But I just don't know if it's for us right now. It's maybe not such a great down south project either, at the humidity and stuff here. Maybe that's another reason why they just don't do that hot, I mean, they survive. They just don't seem to, pop babies out everywhere like everyone else's do.
Well, you brought up the technicalities with the different states and that species. What's your take on the Bowen and Python bans, soon to be other species, it seems?
Well, I think that, legislation is going to continue to push, and I think that, sadly enough, I think the only way around it or the only way through it is to go through it with them and to educate them as much as humanly possible. Try to be a civil, union of people that are banding together for a common cause, Nobody needs to be angry and nobody needs to say horrible things, especially not on Facebook and all the other things, because, all of these things get used against you, and we really aren't that way. We really aren't a rowdy, unorganizable group of individuals here. We're not the people that a lot of people probably think we are. So I think it's extra important to, I guess, be an ambassador to your hobby and to your business desires at this point, and just educate people. When you see that guy that's standing outside, with his giant Burmese python around his shoulders in the middle of the city, stop and tell him, hey, dude, why don't you bring your snake home and protect the rest of us, because he might not even realize he's doing anything wrong that's going to allow the feds or the local municipality to come and take his snake away from him, you know. We have to educate each other and educate the public at the same time, and hopefully we meet somewhere acceptable, you know. And I think that, you know, like on a state level with Louisiana, that's what we were able to do, was we were able to form basically a committee or a panel consisting of a pet shop guy, a reptile breeder, a veterinarian, a local wildlife agent, things like that. You know, this panel of people that sat down and said, okay, this is what the law is going to be. You know, this is what is acceptable to us. This is what we're willing to heed over, you know. Because, I mean, let's face it, we do want to be responsible, don't we? I mean, if you told every single guy, hey, man, you have to have a microchip in every one of your snakes. I mean, really, what's $15, $20? You know, really, to say, hey, if that snake ever got loose and we scanned it and your name was involved, then we have someone to make criminally negligent, as opposed to making all of us with reptiles criminally negligent. You see what I mean? You're basically getting it to the one person that's the problem, instead of blanketing the entire group of us with this shroud of guilt because this one guy's snake gets loose. You know, something like that I think is reasonable, and I think that you know, we need to somehow come into you know, a reasonable, rational, this is what we'll settle for type of thing, because, you know, when they're coming at you hard, you got to fight them, and we're fighting them hard. God, we're fighting them so hard. We've raised so much money through USARK, and, you know, there's been so much money spent already, and so much time from people like Dave and Tracy Barker and a few of the other people that have put in just hours and hours, probably Ralph Davis and, of course, Andrew Wyatt, put in hours and hours of work at that level to try to educate the lawmakers, you know, to say, hey, you know, you're not just throwing out this unsavory crowd of people. You're actually destroying a cottage industry, you know. So, you know, do your part. Donate, raise money, raise awareness. Personally, I haven't been getting to any shows since I've been injured, but earlier this year, we made some fairly decent donations that were able to yield a lot of money, you know, and I'd like to continue to do that.
Awesome. Well, okay, we were talking earlier when we were trying to get this system working, a little glitch in the system. Okay, you said you could really vividly remember your collection way back in the day, so go ahead. I'm 4 years in, so go ahead and think back to your fourth year into breeding.
Oh, man, fourth year into collecting snakes, like fourth year into being like a crazy reptile fiend, that type of shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, I actually posted a photo on my Facebook page maybe a week or two ago of me when I was 17 years old with this horrible haircut, standing in front of this terrarium in my bedroom in my mom's house. And at this point, 4 years in would have been, I worked in pet shops my whole life, so I've always done this. I worked mostly with aquarium fish until I was like 14, 15, 16. I did a lot of aquarium stuff when I was younger, though, and I actually got a job at a pet shop in an aquarium store when I was 13 years old, so I was a real, you know, geeky little pissant, I guess. But 4 years in, I would have probably been, you know, about that time, 17, 18, I would have had, you know, been living in my mom's house, and 3-bedroom house, and one, of course, master bedroom was hers. I had a bedroom, and then the snakes had a bedroom, you know. However, I managed to talk the woman into that. I did. And I probably had about 120 animals or so in that one little room. But it was mostly like corn snakes. You know, I had a whole rack of baby, you know, shoebox tubs filled with baby corns, and there was probably 40 or 50, you know, just corn snakes. And then, you know, I had boas and carpet pythons. I had not a single ball python, man, because at the time, this was like 1995 through 97 or so. Ball pythons were pretty much the scourge of the industry. Nobody really wanted to fool with them unless you were a shitty pet shop that was trying to make one over on somebody. the occasional smaller breeders that were interested in making them just because flat out they were a neat species to work with, and you would meet people that respected them that way. But it would be rare. You'd never see a ball python breeder at a reptile show. There'd be no way in hell that would ever happen. No way. That would have been an absolute disgrace at that point in time. You know, and hopefully some of the people listening to this podcast will actually remember, you know, that day. But, you know, then they started coming out more and people started saying, hey, they eat. Because that was always the thing, is ball pythons don't eat. You know, nobody wanted them because they don't eat. You know, if I wanted a snake that didn't eat, I'd get a gray-banded king. You know, I mean, that was the old limerick back then. I want snakes that feed every time I want to feed them. And people just didn't understand the seasonal fasting and just basically how ball python worked. But, you know, a couple people did. You know, Pete Call was working with the pieds, and Bob Clark and Tracy and them were working with the albinos and the stripes, and Al Tracy probably had a clown back then or so. One of the first ones she imported from Africa that was caught, you know, wild as a clown. Graziani had pastels. That's pretty much all he had. A couple people had ghosts. Lots of people had ghosts that weren't ghosts, you know, unproven ghosts. You know, which is funny because they turned out to be like fireballs and things like that. And back in the day, you never would have imagined. You know, but yeah, 4 years in for me was a real different world. It was a completely different community, and not any worse or any better. The people were all the same. Nice people, friendly people, people eager to learn, people, you know, just as addicted to their hobby as you were for yours. But definitely a different climate, a different expo, a different reptile show, a different overall experience as a herper, if you want to call yourself that, you know, not a ball pythoner. You know. In no way am I meaning to knock anybody that's just 100% ball pythons either, because I am near it. You know, I'm very near it. I have friends that are, you know, only have ball pythons. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, for me, I will always have that thing for the other stuff. I'll always go to a reptile show and I'll see like a Trans-Pecos rat snake, and I'll be like, dude, why do I feel like I have to buy this? You know, just because I loved it so much when I was younger. But the ball python thing is so consuming. There's so many colors and there's so many things to do, and it keeps my mind busy, and it keeps, you know, it's something that for me, I work well with it. I think my collection and I have gotten pretty well, you know, used to each other by now, to where I know how it works. And I like working with them. I don't want to not work with them. I feel that I will always have the largest portion of my collection will be that. You know, but to reminisce back to 4 years in, Jesus, you know, I didn't have the only mutation snakes I had were corn snakes. Everything else was natural. You know.
Well, thank you for taking us way back and giving us a little insight of your past.
Thanks. I mean, those were good times. These are good times, too. I'm not going to say, you know, oh, man, the times used to be so great, you know. But I used to like going to shows and seeing some awesome stuff. You know what I mean? I used to like going to shows and thinking to myself, man, Nat Geo and Discovery Channel don't have anything on what this industry really is. You know, people with everything, sailfin dragons and giant tortoises and, you know, frogs that, you know, giant tree frogs like monkey frogs and stuff. You know, just cool stuff. You know, I mean, neat stuff. I mean, and a nice varied amount of stuff. And there's a few breeders, you know, I mean, there's a lot of the breeders that a lot of people know have been around since those days, and a lot of them haven't really changed their stripes all that much. You know, everybody's pretty much doing the same thing.
Well, is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
No, I mean, not really. I'm happy to do these as anytime anybody asks me to. It's always fun. if anybody has any questions or anything about listening, and they can always email me or, sales@exoticsbynature.com goes directly to me. I also have Sean at exoticsbynature.com, but either one of them works. And Sean is spelled S-E-A-N. And, if anybody has any questions or any particular interests or whatever, how I do something or whatever, then just let me know.
Awesome. Again, thank you, Sean, for coming on Her Per Puree. You're welcome to come back.
Yeah, I'd love to. Anytime.
Awesome. Well, remember to check out Sean's website at exoticbynature.com. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Her Per Puree. Don't forget to subscribe and comment in iTunes. Always, we're streaming live on herperpuree.buzzsprout.com and rossyreptiles.com. Her Per Puree, out.
This is Matt Minatola, and you're listening to Her Per Puree.